So Rudolf Steiner had this word, yeah, eurythmy, and it was this thing that he was developing. The word itself kind of means like harmonious or well-fitted movement, as it were. It's like he described it as like midway between dancing and like mime, or kind of like acting, as it were. Like it's in between the two, where with dancing the body leads, and like with mime or acting, like the the mind leads. And then the gestural aspect of speech. About the word itself, you could think of like a heart palpitation is called an arrhythmia. So it's like non-fitting or non-harmonious movements. But then eurythmia would be like together, like Europe is together or something like that. And then supposedly, and then and then so yeah, it has to do with this kind of musical aspect of speech in a
Yeah,
lot of.
and it means like the two first letters, EU. That translates it to good. So it's good rhythm or harmonious, as you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, or
Yeah,
even
so
vital, or even vital rhythm.
hmm, hmm, I see. Um, yeah, so as it relates to formscapes, it's basically that everything is music insofar as it's kind of the recognition of patterns or something like that. Like we look at, how Peugeot talks about a cup. It's like you have the many different versions of the cup, but you can, in all of them, you can apprehend cupness. It's like you see through kind of through attending to the pattern and attention. Of course, if we think about like Esther Meek and stuff, and loving to know, it's like to know something is to kind of love. So there's interesting connections there, but to participate, as it were. But by coming into accord with the pattern of the thing, it's not that you see uh, the kind of archetypes or high level patterns which are conditioning the identity of that thing, but through, it's not that you see that directly, but through this pattern recognition, you kind of recognize the musical pattern, which is, so it's that we don't see um, the soul of another with our eyes necessarily, but it's kind of the way that Steiner would maybe put it is with like the etheric body of the eyes, or something like that, where it's like you um, perceive through the manifest, through the phenomenological, to the ur-phenomenon, or like the deeper reality, which is there, which is kind of encoded in the patterning of that thing. So I can, if I pay attention, I'm like, ah, yes, this is a cup, because, and I see that it's participating in that higher level form. And this is a kind of musical apprehension, essentially, that we kind of come to know the patterns, as it were. Does that am I making some sense here? It's like, so that's very interesting, I think. And just how that kind of fits with like the terminology, as I was kind of alluding to, of Steiner talking about ether, um, and also like Jonathan Peugeot talking about like icons and formal causes and stuff like that. Because formal causes, maybe the connection that we could draw there is with Rupert Sheldrake talking about etheric, like basically formative fields, or like Steiner talked about basically the same thing. He was talking about etheric formative forces, and like fields and stuff like that, and how fields are, you don't apprehend a field ever, right? You don't see a magnetic field. It's like a structure of possible relations, or like it's the higher level pattern which is kind of conditioning whatever ends up actually happening or something. So
The way that you see the field is the way that that field interacts with and manipulates the things that that field interacts with.
yeah, and then through studying those happenings, you can apprehend the nature of the field, as it were, but kind of through this musical, like spiritual or iconic perception, as it were, kind of, right? Isn't that interesting? So something about that is like, I really think musicality is very deep in this regard. That like, and like you can think of sadness as a color in this regard, like a musical color. So when you look at someone, you can see, you notice the patterning.
Oh, they're
of-
feeling blue.
Yeah, that's also yeah, and that's the interesting thing is that there's connections to particular colors and stuff like that. But even just in general, also, it's like that you recognize the pattern. It's like, oh, this person is, things that normally would make people happy, they still seem to be down. It's like, oh, there's obviously something. So then you recognize the pattern, as it were, through attending to the music, and then this allows you to know your surroundings more deeply, right? And then when we realize that we are like this as well, we can we can develop our agency with regard to our musical contribution, as it were, and our and to emphasize what is true, or what is appropriate, as it were, what is fitting, what is eurythmically like kind of well fitting in terms of contextual propriety, which is another interesting aspect, because where one thing might be appropriate in one instance, it might not be musically appropriate in another, so yeah, that's some stuff I've been thinking about. It's very interesting to me, yeah.
What have you been doing with it, though? That's even more interesting.
Oh man, I just heard some coyotes right when I stopped speaking outside. um I try to live this in my own behavior, like I think this is a faculty that we can kind of develop, both like the kind of musical agency or ability to emphasize, and part of that is like that kind of integrity or virginal receptivity to what is appropriate. It's like I have to be able to hear what I'm being called to emphasize in a particular moment, or what I'm being called not to emphasize, like to veil or something. And then also this ability, this faculty of like, I would kind of maybe term it like etheric vision, or like iconic perception, spiritual vision, or whatever, something like that. I really think that these are skills that we can develop. I've been working a lot on the jargon about it, but like particularly over the past I don't know, I feel like and this is the fact that everything we do is art, and that's part of the impetus for like the whole road trip and stuff, is that to try and remember to embody our values and our principles, and like to live in this artful way that like musically contributes, so I'm trying to do that, but we all have our shortcomings. I got like past,
I don't know. Using a van to paint a path across the United States seems pretty artful to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying. We all got our problems, but I don't know. I appreciate you asking. Yeah, I really, again, and kind of props to Keelan of Formscapes, and also I do think that stuff that Steiner was on about with Eurythmy, and what's interesting enough is that actually Terrence McKenna was talking about this as well. He was talking about the visual language. He used the octopus as an example of like to such that the garments again are like the technical aspects of language, where we can kind of be selective in the way we appear to the world, is like for the octopus, it's like a kind of it's a direct window to their mind or something like that. And how the DMT beings would tell people, would demonstrate this. I don't want to get too, sorry if I'm rambling here. There's so much I can say about this stuff here. Supposedly the DMT beings, which he would meet on when taking DMT, would produce these objects, like these pun-like speech. They would speak these objects and be like, here, this is for you, and you can do this also, you have to do it. And it's like something about making a physical object, or like a hyper object or something like that, compression, because a word is like a compression or something like that. And then to visually do that, it's just interesting that he was also raving about that. So this is so I recommend people look into those things, because I think there is a deeper pattern here which is significant. I'm not trying to just rave about my own part. Like, I think it's as it relates to music, there's a lot to be said for the musicality of language and embodiment and stuff like that, how the pattern is instantiated into the particular, and how we cannot perceive the higher level patterns which are encoded in the particulars, and this is musical in some fashion. Yes. Yeah.
So on the topic of musicality and language, like I know that you can modulate your voice appropriately because I can hear you doing it, and I know kind of how to do it as well. Do you have any thoughts about how to try and get somebody who is very flat toned in the way that they speak to start to hear the inflections that people put in their voice, and then to start to be able to practice and like learn how to give those inflections in their own voice?
Well, what do you think? I'd be curious to hear what you think, because I'm not an expert, but I mean, you know what it does make me think of is the McGilchrist stuff with right brainism and left brain stuff, because I think there's like a separation between kind of the syntactic and the semantic, maybe is one way to think about it, or like the definitions of the words versus the way that they're said and stuff like
because I think the thing that, like, why I want to teach other people about it is, like, I think it's a really important part of human communication that gets maybe not dismissed but underemphasized, and like it's a deep part of like how you communicate emotional tone from one person to another, and learning to like, and maybe it's just like me being spectrumy, that it just doesn't come as naturally as it does to some people, but I think even for people who are more neurotypical, it's like there's a level to which you can learn this more deeply than just whatever your intuition would provide.
Yeah, and if we are kind of blind to the effect that it can have, like, people are so kind of, we don't realize how much of effect this has on people, like, because when somebody's saying something, if all the things they're saying are making sense, this would probably be me right now. I've got other things going on in my mind. It's like but their body language and the tone of their voice doesn't carry the same thing. People don't trust them, and also, like, there are people who use these emphatic aspects of language and musicality of language to manipulate, like advertisers and news broadcasters and such like that. Donald Trump, and it's like, and we have to be aware of this magic, as it were, and like realize that we are all participants and partakers of it, such that we you're a wizard, Harry. I hate to break it to you, except I also love to.
The newscasters one is especially important, and like that there's a slightly different cadence between newscasting versus like NPR podcast type things, but there is a very specific way of speaking that they have that I'm pretty sure is deliberately designed to not just be clear so that way people can understand whatever it is that's going on, but that I would need to practice it before I could actually like try and replicate it. But the whole point of it is to try it and make it so that it's that much more believable to an audience.
Tucker Carlson is so good at that I still don't know what the hell is going on with him. He is the most slippery person that there is.
The natural music, which is like this universal language of sorts that we're all kind of, is the inheritance of all of us insofar as we are embodied humans. Like we all have, there are vast similarities. We all have a brain, and most of us have two hands and two eyes and such like that, and so when I wink, it's like, at least in America, that's more of a cultural one, but like when I laugh, that's like this shared cultural grammar. And the point is, like when I tap my foot or when I shake my leg, like these are subtle communications as well in the music. And like when we change the medium of expression, like you can't see me shaking my leg, so there is gaps. That's one thing I like to point out, that there is this kind of gaps, but also how we can meet each other to some degree, and all mediums are still musical or something. And I don't know, I don't want to make this too much about like the whole language aspect of it, because we're trying to focus on musicality, but there are analogous, like
It seems to me that musicality is a form that requires temporality. It requires the sort of like changing of state through time, and that you can't. And it's different from Plato's forms in that way.
I think there's something very important there about like well, Plato also has a more nuanced take, I think, than sometimes we give him credit for. I'm no Plato scholar, but he talked about like the chora also, which is like the kind of darkness of formlessness and like potential and stuff like that. But yeah, I see what you're getting at, and I think that's a great point, because it gets into problems of like being and becoming, and that's a very theological discussion about the nature of God. And is God a static eternal being, or does God kind of is God a process being? Is there a process? People talk about process theology, and like this idea that we participate in the life of God insofar as like he is God the Father, maybe is in like a dynamic relationship with creation. And like I think this is beautifully symbolized or emblemized or revealed in the incarnational principle of Christianity, where it's like between heaven and earth, being and becoming, and that we stand at this balance, and that the real musical intensity is in how well we are able to balance heaven and earth. Forgive me, I'm kind of raving here. I feel a bit dissociated, but it's like you know what I'm saying? Is that the music, the real musicality is in this intensification of kind of that rich generative interplay of heaven and earth, and that has dissonance in it as well, like difficult suffering and corporeal kind of distinctions between beings and stuff like that. And that's so I think that's a great point, sir. I forgot.
Well, it just makes me think of like maybe the only way for being to exist is for it to be in an eternal state of becoming. That there's not actually like that the only way to create something static is to create something that is dynamic, that holds the shape of the static through its motion.
This might be getting into questions above my pay grade, but
Mine too.
but yeah, all of these questions probably are, but the above mine, but yeah, it reminds me of like the yin yang, the taijutsu, where it's that there is this motion, and also I'm inclined to think that like there is in the nature of God, there is darkness as well. You know, that it is not that God is not just the eternal light, but that it is that there is corporeal. God has a body as or something like that. I don't know. You know, it's like, and which is all of creation and all of reality or something, and like and that yeah, and I think that's like Jesus again, where like that humanity participates in that or something. That's one of the things I wrote as this I remember last time I wrote 2 sticky notes and we got through one of them, and on the other one I have here God as artists, and also just the idea of art being significant in this regard, and how like people could perhaps conceive themselves in a more art, or like realize that there's more of an artful thing to reality in general or something like that, where we are all artists already, and most of us are, you know, like maybe we're sinful artists in the sense that we miss the movements which are most appropriate, you know, the most kind of eurythmic movements, as it were, or something, to incarnate the word of God, saying what we mean, what reality means, you know. But nonetheless, I think we're generally good artists or something, something like that is what I'm getting at, where people need to take the creative risk more often, or something like that, like be willing to like Karen says, you're not gonna paint well without practice. You know, you need to keep trying and saying, speak your mind, you know, and like Peterson says, it will often go poorly, but or create a lot of trouble, but it's, you know, that's the musical intensity.
You're not going to be able to figure it out unless you practice, though.
Yeah, you have to shoot in order to.
And you're gonna miss.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna try and sing with friends, and it's not gonna sound great. You're gonna try and play an instrument for people, and it's maybe not gonna be as good as somebody else you've heard. But that doesn't mean that like you shouldn't do it. It doesn't mean that there isn't value in that. That doesn't mean that, like, because the way that I kind of have felt it is that it's, when done properly, music is a way of really linking yourself to the people that you are participating in that music with. And so, like, there might be somebody who's more technically gifted or technically skilled than you, but the purpose of participating in that music is that binding, is that connection with somebody else. And as long as you're meeting that threshold, as long as you are achieving connection through that music, it's good enough. It might not be good in the sense that it's not as technically skilled as somebody else, but that doesn't mean that it's not doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And it doesn't mean that you can't make it better over time. It doesn't mean that you can't improve it over time and deepen those bonds and those connections.
I agree with you.